Cupcakes. What's happier than a cupcake? I don't know. Rainbows, maybe. I'm gonna show you how to style some beautiful strawberry cupcakes. We're gonna give you tips on how to swirl some vanilla frosting, glaze some strawberries. They are going to be epic. I'm gonna start this recipe off with the batter. And I wanna show you guys how we're gonna make the batter actually, because the consistency of the batter has a lot to do with how the cupcakes turn out. So this recipe has strawberry gelatin in it, which was already written into the recipe, but is actually a really good cake styling tip. It not only keeps it moist, but it also keeps it nice and light and springy, so it retains its shape well. So our recipe for this strawberry cupcake is gonna start off with some strawberry gelatin, some room temperature butter. The reason why we want this to be room temperature butter is so that the texture of our dough is nice and light and springy. And you're gonna add granulated sugar. We're gonna put this on and we're gonna cream this mixture for about 3 minutes till it gets nice and light and fluffy, which is how we want our cupcakes. Now that our batter is nice and fluffy, we're gonna add eggs 1 at a time so that we don't overbeat our batter. Just gonna gently stir them in. The more you beat a batter, the denser it can become. So, you wanna add these 1 at a time and just mix just until it's combined. Gorgeous. And now we're gonna finish this up with some wet and dry ingredients. And we're gonna add them in stages. Again, so we can just gently mix the batter, we're not over mixing. Great, so we're gonna add our last stage of milk, and here you go, last bit of dry ingredients. All right, so I'm gonna wipe down the sides and make sure we get all of our flour incorporated into here. Mix this one more time and then we'll be ready to put it into our cupcake liners. All right, and we're done. So we have our batter all ready to go. And here's our tip here. I wanna make sure that we don't overfill our cupcake tins, because when you overfill a cupcake liner, the cake rises over the liner and that does not make for a pretty cupcake. I wanna fill them about 2/3 full so that ideally our cake will rise right to the edge of the liner. And then that way we'll get a really nice even surface for our frosting. I used about a 1/3 cup measure here. You want to use a measuring cup to measure the batter so that you have an even amount in every single cupcake. That looks good. So that's about 2/3 full. When in doubt, leave it out. Just don't fill it all the way up. Even if it looks halfway-ish, you'd rather have that than have it coming over the liner. Okay, so you guys can see, we did not fill these all the way up to the top. They are about 2/3 full, and I will sometimes just shake them down. And these are ready to go in the oven at 350 for about 20 to 25 minutes. You just wanna test them and make sure they're cooked through, and you'll be ready to let them cool. So these are our beautifully baked cupcakes. They are nice and even on the top. And as you can see, because we filled them 2/3 full, they're nice and flat. And I let them cool for at least an hour. They really need to be cool to the touch, because cupcake foul number 1, putting icing onto a warm cupcake and it like soaks all in there and melts, and it's not good. First of all, a good icing, this is actually store-bought icing. You really want a thick icing that holds a stiff peak so it'll stay stiff on our cupcake. So if you can go into your icing and it holds a peak like that, that's perfect, that's what you want. The most effortless, easy way to ice or frost a cupcake to me is to use piping tips, because piping tips give you really pristine shapes. It's pretty foolproof, it's hard to mess up. I'm not a pristine baker, so this helps me out a ton. So you wanna put your coupler base in the bag and press it all the way down until the end to where it gets taut. And then you're gonna use some scissors and cut right where that point is. Beautiful. You also want to fold the piping bag down about halfway so that you have room at the top to pull it back up and twist it. And then I'm going to put our tip on the outside of the bag like so. And then our coupler, we're just going to screw on tight. Voila! Simple as a cupcake. So I'm going to put our icing in this bag, try and be the least level of messy as I can, but you guys know me, sometimes things get messy. So I'm going to push it down into the bottom of the bag like so. And you can use like a sturdy glass cup just to help you do this more easily than just holding it on its own. Use a rubber spatula. This makes it easy to get your icing out, put it in that bag, shake, shake, shake it down, push it down. You wanna create a little bit of a tight seal here and then twist it. So that way you're creating pressure here to come out of the bottom. I'm gonna start on the inside and work my way out and then layer from there. That makes a more even icing. Pretty. So since these cupcakes are strawberry, I wanted to do some visual cues of strawberries on top. And I'm just gonna slice them really thinly, and then I'm gonna show you how to glaze them so that when you take a picture with them, they're really pretty and get a nice sheen on them. So we're just gonna cut the top off and then do some pretty thin slices. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut all of these because I wanna pick out the prettiest slices. Beautiful. Okay, so these are all cut. I love the shapes that we're getting here. And I'm gonna take some simple syrup and I'm just gonna gently brush these in simple syrup. It doesn't have to be perfect, just brush all these guys. And it keeps them looking nice and moist and perky. Strawberries have a tendency to look a little dry on camera, so anything you can do to add moisture to them is always good. Okay, great. I'm gonna take these and the strawberries over to our surface and get ready to take the photo. So we have all of our beautiful strawberry cupcakes, nice and cool, beautifully iced, and I'm gonna set them up on our surface. As you can see, we have this really crisp, clean white with the pink of the plate. It's really gonna set off the deeper pink hue and the white icing on our cupcakes. So you can see on our cupcakes, the liners aren't really coming through because they've been baked into the cupcake. So what you can do, extra credit points, is put an extra clean liner on the outside of the cupcake and place it in camera. If you really want to be a perfectionist, you can use spray adhesive and spray that all in there tight, but I think it looks really good, especially if you're shooting from the side to see the white of the liner. I'm gonna put this one towards the front. And be careful because, as you can see, I'm getting icing on my fingers from doing this, so we're gonna be gentle in moving these. So that looks good. I'm gonna put that one behind here. And I like putting these cupcakes on a smaller plate because it feels like more. If you like for the photo, you can keep one off the plate, kind of make them look like they're in process if you're shooting overhead. Perfect. So there's 4 on there. And then comes our glazed strawberries. So we've already done these. I'm just gonna place these on top. I have some extra glaze just in case. And the cool thing about glazing them too is they look pretty juicy. So sometimes they can get a little bit of strawberry juice on the icing, which I actually think is really nice and natural. So I'm gonna alternate. I'm gonna put 1 on top here and then maybe put 2, stagger them so that they're not exactly the same. It's a nice bunch of red, kind of staggered, kind of a little different shape. This guy, I'm just gonna give us 1. And then yeah, you just play around with the way that you want these to be shaped and the way you want them to look. So the reason I slice these is because it kind of gives them a fanned look when you're layering them from the front to the back, kind of staggered effect like that and that. When you're styling a food photo, you want to tell a story. So I'm gonna leave these strawberries kind of in the background from being styled. Maybe pull in this icing like we were using it for our frosting. So you could come in and take an overhead shot where you see the scene entirely set up. You can get in closer with the camera and get a detailed shot of the individual strawberry with the icing, or you could back the camera up a little bit, get a 3/4 shot of all 4 cupcakes. Regardless of what you do, you're gonna get a beautiful shot and see a beautiful cupcake.